Hey everybody, Justin Weber, ampsandsound. Our flagship, a little different than the Red October. So I just wanted to share some of the differences and why the Nautilus exists. We have, as a company, have invested in two main areas: quality of our transformers and execution of our wiring. For us, the highest order execution is turret boards and point-to-point, harkening back to sort of Macintosh and Leak and Harman Kardon from the 50s and 60s. It's a manufacturing process that's very space intensive. And so you need circuits that are simpler, layouts that are wider and bigger. And so we learned to be able to do that, execute that on a manufacturing level, not just as a DIY one-off in building the Zions. So we already had our Mogwai and our bigger Ben, and the Nautilus was a demonstration of what was possible. So we took the circuit that a Mogwai might use or a bigger Ben might use, further found some efficiencies that were really important, and then broke it apart into a single channel. So a Nautilus is a 10 transformer amplifier. There are 2 power transformers, 4 chokes, 2 input transformers to convert from XLR to RCA, and 2 massive, huge output transformers. So to bear the weight of all of our transformers, we went to steel plate chassis. These are 10 gauge steel plate. You can stand on them. They won't deflect. They won't bend. They won't dent. And it gave us the space we needed to use turrets. What the Nautilus allowed us to do was to take our personal audio line to a statement level, no longer a reference level, no longer an entry point, but really the finest work that we could do. And in so doing, we needed space. We wanted everything dual mono, single chassis. We wanted the biggest, best transformers we could put on an amplifier, and that's what we got with the Nautiluses. The Nautilus is a lifetime ownership component. We expect you to own these for between 10 years and 50 years. And as such, it has that lifetime warranty for a reason. They also weigh 72 pounds outside of their case. They're very, very heavy on purpose. They're built, to an industrial level, which is what we wanted. You have 5 taps in the front. There's not a headphone on the market that it can't drive correctly and well, from the most efficient, high efficiency headphones like the ZMF Verite to the most stubborn Abyss 1266 and an HE6 in between. All of them, it brings both delicacy, detail, and muscle. What's it sound like? I could give you analogies. It sounds silly telling you the analogies. Our sound is an American sound. It's a mid-range dense sound. It goes back to the 60s. So there's some overtones in the mid-range. The mid-range and the upper bass are going to seem fuller, more dynamic. And in so doing, though, you're going to have some lower high-frequency energy that you're not going to hear as much detail into. When we measure the amp, it is about 8 hertz to 22, 28 kilohertz at 1 decibel, meaning ruler flat, which for a tube amp with no feedback is really, really, really impressive. But from a sonic standpoint, it's all about the mid-range. That's an American sound. You can modulate that with tube choices, but still, it's that American Macintosh, Harman Kardon 50s, somewhat romantic, really dense information. Now, headphones have become faster, more perceptive stethoscopes of sound. And so feeding them tonally dense information is really important. Being able to control a driver, even in its lowest frequencies, is really important. And that's the kind of stuff that the Nautilus allows for, because you can get up to 8 watts. You can run it anywhere from 3 watts to 8 watts, depending on your tube choices. So you can bend any headphone if you need to. And you can supply it with that rich texture that solid state amps sometimes don't have. This is an amplifier that has no feedback. It's whisper quiet. It's dynamic. That has wide frequency extensions, and that you can roll. So you can choose tubes that are made from KT150s, which are huge, to 6L6GCs, which go all the way back to the Macintosh 240. And you can choose a wide variety of rectifiers and a wide variety of your input tubes. So you give it a DAC and you're done. That's a really nice choice. And when you've moved past headphones, if you pick the right speaker, you have house-filling sound. It's an all-in-one solution that's built to last a lifetime. Our 2 favorite types of power tubes for this amplifier that we ship with is either the JJ KT88, which is an absolutely bulletproof tube. It's got some of the thickest glass that exists. It's whisper quiet. It's known for really dense, low frequencies. And then you have the Softex 6550, which we might ship it with as well, which is just an absolutely perfect hi-fi choice. Audio Research swears by them. We almost always ship with Tungsol GZ34s, which are 5 AR4s here. And then typically it'll be a JJ 12AX7S. They make what's called a frame grid. The frame grids are quieter. I like the S because it has longer plates. And I think longer plates are a little bit more romantic sounding. So I've heard almost every modern tube that exists, and we choose it because we like it. What you see here are 2 amps that we've set up for demo because I think colors show really well. We've built this amp in so many different color choices, from pumpkin orange and black to white and silver to black on black. All of the colors at this point are textured because it resists scratching. This is an amazingly good amplifier. It's a statement piece, but when we add color, it becomes a luxury purchase. The color is really nominal in cost, but what it does for the value proposition, it takes it from just being an amplifier to being an object of design and an expression of personality. So many of my customers would buy amplifiers and listen in quiet spaces, and they had these things that they truly loved, and they didn't get to share it. And there was sometimes a little shame involved. I'm a mental health professional. I don't see that as a good idea. Things that you love that don't hurt others are worth sharing. And so I wanted to build an amplifier that, if you put it on your desk, dominated your desk. It'll fit on a rack, but it's meant to be noticed and meant to be used. And so it's big enough to still fit on normal equipment, but it commands the room. There's not a time that you'll walk into a space and not notice this. And I think that that's a wonderful choice. I think that that's a wonderful expression. And so our design is subtle enough that doesn't scream, but it is intentional. I am a Johnny Cash fan, and so triple black is a super cool idea to me. I called it the Stealth October for my version. With all black, you can't see the silk screening unless you look at it with a light reflecting on the silk screening. That said, the second choice, though, is blue on silver. I'm completely team blue. There is a calmingness to it that I really love. Now the red, the red's like Maserati red. It's like Maserati valve cover red, and it's so luxurious. But red's never my color palette. I'm a blue guy. Blue and oranges are my colors, so blue always wins. But if I could go black on black, that's a good choice too. We have lots of colors, and we try to accommodate people. We haven't done pink yet. We have done a Lamborghini green for one person. That was pretty cool. But we want these to be used and loved. Ultimately, these are sculptures, And, I think that so much of what we enjoy about them is also just looking at them. So that the color takes it from utility to luxury. So we build in Southern California. They're all US sourced parts. Our metalwork is in Southern California. Our powder coating is in Southern California. And our labor is in Southern California. We're a small team of artisans that build without the constraints of time. My staff knows that A, I would always like us to try to do better, and B, it always has to be right. Time is never the concern. It sucks to make mistakes sometimes, and it sucks that things might take longer, but getting our very best work is always the most important thing. And so things don't leave until they've been benched, burned in, tested, benched again, and then listened to by me before they leave. Our build quality, as I said earlier, the two things that matter most to us is our detailed wiring, our execution of our wiring, and our transformers. Our transformers are incredibly special. They're completely proprietary to us, wound by several manufacturers. And then our wiring is too. If you can't eat off of our wiring, if you couldn't follow it logically, we didn't do our job right. We don't believe in spaghetti noodles. Everything is pinned and has buses run through it. It looks like you're looking at a vascular system of a person. We care deeply about how we build these things. These aren't disposable. These likely will outlive me, and I'm 43. So I'm hoping to walk this earth at least another 40 years. And they may need capacitors. They might even need a resistor at some point. But these are repairable by anyone. They're repairable by anyone because we've chosen to use technology that is already obsolete. There is no planned obsolescence for our parts. They are 100% sourceable components, resistors and capacitors. And because we built it in a way that was designed to be repairable. Not by a technician, but by any amateur with a voltmeter and a soldering iron can take this apart if they needed to. There's not a circuit board that you can overheat. Every individual component is held together on a turret board. What we have here is an example of a Bakelite turret board. It is Russian surplus. We have 4,000 to 6,000 of these, and the parts are suspended between the turrets. So the mechanical connection of the part, if you notice, because there's two saddles, we wrap the wire around the first saddle and around the second saddle. And then there's a bar that connects to the second saddle right here. So the first terminal has two saddles. The second terminal has two saddles. This part is held in place by the first saddle. The electrical connection is made on the second saddle. The solder joint is never the mechanical connection for the component. This makes it durable. This is what we'd call military grade. This is not the case with modern manufacturing techniques. This is a fixable, logical manner of building things. Super, super labor intensive, takes a lot of space, and you have to really understand the circuit well in advance when you're laying it out. That said, once installed, once built, it's very easy to follow. The part will be here, and all you have to undo is two solder joints, remove the component, put the component back into place with a pair of pliers and solder it, and you're done. And you never actually even touch the electrical connection. You touch the first mechanical connection. This is the highest order of amp building. This is the only way these amplifiers are built. That's how we do it.